Pro right to repair, pro right to upgrade. Give me access to everything, and everything should be open source. My name is Raymond Fong. I'm the studio technician of the Rapid Prototyping Center. I've been here since my second degree as an industrial design student. And my first degree was a visual arts degree over at York University. I think I started here in 2016 and graduated in 2019. I didn't want to move far from home. I'm actually from Niagara Falls. And the only place I could find that was in a drivable distance was OCADU University for industrial design. After I finished my first degree in visual arts, I thought to myself, I want to make stuff, but I want to make useful stuff. And so I was looking into a career involving, product design in general. And so that's how I went online and found industrial design at OCAD. There was an interview to meet a professor, show them your portfolio, and most people would show their drawings and their artwork. But I decided to make it a little different. I gave myself a challenge that I would have the interview at a table that I built. And so I designed, cut out by hand that entire table and assembled it at the interview. And we had the interview at my table. So at my first degree, visual arts, there was one class in Rhino taught at York University. And that's what really drew me into it, because at that point, I was drawing everything by hand, but I had no way to really visualize it in 3D until I learned Rhino there. And then I got better at Rhino at OCAD. When I first started my first year here, there was a great professor. His name was Greg Sims, and he showed us pretty much every command in Rhino. Though, of course, with any course, having an in-person course is just the beginning. It's better to do a full in-depth learning from LinkedIn Learning. So the LinkedIn Learning courses for Rhino were incredibly in-depth, and that's why I always recommend those instead. It's like learning from the creator rather than learning secondhand. I sucked at drawing, and I was way better at 3D to the point where there was one professor who taught us how to cheat, where you design the primitives in 3D. Back in 2016, the only 3D printers OCAD had was by Lulzbot, a company that went bankrupt twice. The printers were pretty notorious for being unreliable. They keep marketing themselves so well that everybody bought into it. They were an American company, but it was kind of a joke that their lowest price printer was equal in price to the best printer in the market by Prusa, a Czech Republic company. Yeah, so the original RepRap idea came out when Stratasys, the original patent owners of 3D printing, their patent went up. There's a huge flood of 3D printers onto the market. And RepRap at the beginning said, you know what? Our 3D printers should be able to self-replicate. And so Prusa followed that. And so up came the Prusa Mark II. I bought that originally back when I was in second year. Then came out the 2.5. It was just an upgrade kit. So you just take apart your existing printer, replace the parts. It got to the Mark III, 3S Plus. And even to just about a month ago, there was a release of the Mark IV, and if you follow the lineage, you can go all the way from a Mark II all the way to the Mark IV today. So that's what I love about 3D printing. That's what got me into it. That one printer where it just self-upgraded all the time. And even I follow that philosophy down at RP. When our laser cutter broke down this year, I couldn't fix it until I got the water jet cutter to cut out the custom wrench for it. So all the time in RP, you're having one machine upgrade another or repair another. Oh yeah, we get orders all the time from other studios. So for example, over in IT, they had these microphones that people kept dropping them, so the bottom of the microphone broke. Somebody online posted a free design to replace that, and we 3D printed it. Over in the wood shop, they always have these throw plates for all the band saws. You'll notice they're 3D printed as well. Over just distribution, they have these folding tables that go all around the university. People pick up the folding table by these injection molded corners, and they've all broken off. So then we started printing replacement parts and even improve them in areas where they broke so that they won't break in the future. Everything can be upgraded. Everything should be like a Mark II version 5 or whatever. Just don't name your files like, oh, final, last chance, whatever. You're going to jinx it. And this year we built the 3D printing cube, which is a 3x2 grid that we designed to hold 6 printers on one table. So you could print something, and then when it was done, you would wait for it to cool off, and the print head would just pop it off into a bucket. And so there were some days or weekends when I told them to print 20 parts, and 20 parts came out from just a single printer. Just this one week, we already had at least 50. And I opened up RP to alumni, so even if you graduate, if you know how to make a good file, we'll take it in. I don't mind separating students or alumni from their money. We now offer 7. 3 of those are actually 3D printing. In between the additive manufacturing I just covered, there's 3D scanning. We just got a new scanner thanks to new grant money. So now on to subtractive manufacturing. Water jet cutter takes 60,000 psi water after it's compressed it, pushes it through a tiny little nozzle, so it's about 1 millimeter altogether, and then combines it with 80 grit sand to create a slurry that you cut from metal. Then there's laser cutting, our workhorse. You can cut acrylics and woods. People keep asking if it can cut metal. No, it can't. That's what the water jet cutter is for. Finally, we got CNC milling. Program it wrong, or you program any kind of machine wrong. Every machine's a smoke machine if you use it wrong enough. Well, just this year, somebody had me 3D scan a chainsaw, and then we 3D printed the chainsaw in something called polycast, so then it can be brought over to the foundry and cast it in metal. But before they casted it in metal, they took the chainsaw, they gave it a bend to the saw part so it looks like a dog. You don't know how many times we 3D printed all the fucking time, every year, always a cop. A lot of students think that I have time to talk to them or teach them stuff. It kind of explains why I had to put up a sign at the front desk that says we do not tutor and that our desk is not a workbench. I am not your tutor. I only have 35 hours in a week, and I got to spend that processing orders. And it's very rude for a student to just show up on the last day of the school year, open up their laptop and tell me, I've never opened up Illustrator in my life, and then expect me to teach them on the spot right there, and then ask me, oh, how soon can I get this? The project is due in the next hour. Can you do this for me right now? No, I can't do that for you right now. You've essentially held me up for 2 hours, actually processing the work that's ahead of you, done properly by students that had the forethought to actually send in their files early and do their stuff on time, rather than some student that shows up last minute with a file that makes 0 cents at all. So a lot of students complain like, oh, the price of your services is so expensive. Really, they don't consider the overhead and that we're practically cost people, and that most of the other studios are cost negative, and so we're pretty much covering their loss. So this is my bike. Every day I strip it down of all its parts and put on 3 locks, because I know e-bikes always want to get stolen. So as you can see on my bike, I have 4 security features. View lock in yellow over here, chain lock connected to a cafe lock. Then we have something called the Boomerang GPS. So if this thing ever gets stolen, I can just pull up my phone and ask me, hey, where's my bike? And then, of course, you got to remove the battery so that you can charge it. Who better to pay for my gas bill than the university? I get to plug the battery in at work and get that charged here. Now, the reason I picked out this e-bike was it's actually the cheapest e-bike you can find that's actually useful. 500-watt motor. And you might notice something about this bike. It's the most common e-bike in Toronto because it's sold by a bike company called Amigo Bikes. This is the Milano 48 volt. You'll notice that every Uber delivery person has the same bike. The reason you have to buy a bike local is because your bike will break down. And you're going to want a bike shop that sold you the bike to fix the bike. And of course with e-bikes, the more moving parts there are, the faster it is. It's going to break somewhere. I've had this bike since October 2 years ago. It survived 2 winters now. And the reason I park it here, right in the alleyway between OCADU and the AGO, is I know the AGO guys, all their security staff, they go and have their smoke break right on the bench over there. So who's going to go steal a bike when security is having a smoke break right next to your bike? Everything's electric with me. Even in the winter I bike, you might see me looking like an alien or a robot because I'll have a full face helmet, a balaclava. I even got prescription sun ski goggles, and I got a light that goes across my helmet. So then I look like a robot, and then I got a heated jacket and heated gloves, and I can bike down to minus 30, minus 20 degrees Celsius, and I'm fine.
Today's episode of Bikes with OCADU is brought to you by the letter E. E for eye protection.
Eye protection is probably the second most important type of protection after a helmet, yet it is so often overlooked. First off, eye protection can make your ride a lot more comfortable by cutting out the harsh rays from the sun and giving your eyes a rest, but also allowing you to see past glare. They also help by protecting you from the annoying wind that makes you tear up and look like you've had a very emotional ride. Some eye pro can just be sunglasses, some can be special glasses to cut out glare, and some can just be clear safety glasses. If you are going to wear glasses of some sort though, you should look for ones that are rated for impact. Those will help protect you from rocks kicked up by tires, but also every other unexpected thing that might hit you in the face. So do yourself a favor and keep your eyes peeled and protected.
I'm sure everybody's fallen on the tracks at least once. Hopefully never with a car following you behind. And then I take a right over here. Let's wait for these walkers. And you're always going to get a bunch of people over there trying to overtake the streetcar, so that's pretty dangerous. You good? What a jerk. You know, with this bike one time, I was at, I forgot the name of that beach. It's over on the east end, just by that crescent thing. Jason was having a beach party, and when Marcella was there, she essentially roller skated 10 kilometers and was dead by the time she got there. And at night after the party, she just hitched onto the bike here, and I just essentially pulled her all the way back to her house on her roller skates. She said that it was more painful to do it that way because every time that we were biking and I was pulling her along, she had to essentially lock her legs when we were roller skating. So that was pretty dangerous, but at least the entire lakeshore was one just giant bike lane, so it wasn't that bad. And this truck stopped for all the people. Let's slip on in. I'm sure I get the weird looks, but they have no idea who I am, so it doesn't matter. Again, one time I fell over on the tracks here, and somebody thought I was like one of those food delivery bikers. Watch out though, because at this light some people take the red light as a suggestion. Alright, taking a right. Still behind me? Oh, I see you. I don't know. So the problem with going so fast on an e-bike is it's kind of like driving a car. You don't have any time to stop and smell the roses. So I don't really know any of the restaurants or whatever that are along my bike path. And plus, along Dundas, it's almost all like houses and crap, so you don't see much of anything. What's your opinion on the lights? Like, you start going when you start seeing the walk symbol, or do you wait for the green light? I think that seems to be pretty consistent with everybody who's on a bike, unless they're on one of those green like bike share bikes. Oh, it's getting better. You got some jerks who haven't read the, what do you call it? When I went to Bike Sauce to get my old bike repaired, they had all the tools out to let people fix their own bikes, and they had that little pamphlet out. And one of the biggest ones was people who bike should kind of keep slightly to the right, because just like car rules, you gotta pass them on the left, right? But then I get these old grannies or people that just don't look like they bike very often, and the way they go is I'm gonna bike in the center of the bike lane, or I'm gonna bike all the way to the left, like I just reach out and touch the cars. I gotta tell you, my grandpa, he biked everywhere, and I had the bike everywhere too in Niagara Falls because I just didn't want to be chauffeured everywhere. One of those suburb cities where you have to do everything by car. Watch out here. This car's passing right by. Alright, we got space. Back in Niagara Falls, if you didn't own a car, you pretty much were stuck at home. Or you guess you could walk to the park. But walking sucked ass. And living in the suburbs, the buses would only come like every half hour. And if you missed one bus, that means you're late for work by an hour, which really sucked. So you pretty much had to rely on your bike, whether it rained or it was sunny out. If there's something I don't use, I try and sell it or get rid of it. So if you ever come by my place, I'm like Marie Kondo. The place is pretty sparse. It does. Yeah, so the bike is the freedom. At my house, I don't even have a parking spot. And it's a friggin' nightmare in order for my parents to visit me. But yeah, if I ever invite you to my house, don't expect to bring a car because you won't find parking. So yeah, that's what I kind of hate about Toronto. None of the bike lanes are actually joined. So if you're trying to get anywhere, there's always like one spot, like right here, where there's no bike lane. But then the rest of my commute is entirely bike lane from here on. So this is, for me, the most dangerous part of my commute. Oh, we got a walker. We gotta slow down. Oh, he stopped for us. Yeah, I told you, every Uber biker has the same bike. Hey, you're doing pretty good. This whole time we've been going at 26 kilometers. I guess everything feels more like yours when you modify it. So, like, of course, everybody personalizes their bike by putting whatever handlebars they want on it. People love their 3D printers no matter how broken they are, unless of course they're the kind of people that think of their 3D printer the same way they think of their 2D paper printer. So it's a pretty big variance, I would say, in terms of how people feel about them. Because again, nobody's attached to their written essay, but everybody's attached to whatever weird duck they 3D print and the machine that pops it out. You think you can make this hill? 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You made it. It's killing you. You know, this entire time I could have actually been pedaling. So here we have to cross a pretty major road. It can get busy, but right now we can just go because we have a long time until those cars get to us. And here's that crappier painted bike lane. It's not that great. The cars don't respect it very much, which is why, which is why we take an immediate right at these lights so we don't have to stay on this road very long. So we'll take a right over here into this quiet neighborhood so we don't have to deal with that anymore. Oh look, it's snowing. Alright, here's the most cruel part of my ride, for you at least, because here's a pretty steep hill we're gonna go up. Even the e-bike here struggles at the end because I'm going full power and it's only going at 15 kilometers an hour. So, sorry about that. I'm sorry, I live on the top of a hill. How are you feeling? You hate life? You need the ticket? Okay. I'm real sorry. But I'm not gonna stop laughing. All right, everybody stay good. Pay your taxes. Pay your bills at RP, because if you don't graduate. Don't make me do crap that's dumb.